are joined by Gotham FC General Manager and Head of Soccer Operations, Yael Averbuch West. As usual, we'll have Yael start with some opening remarks on Guro, and then we will open it up for questions. Use the raise your hand function if you have one. We just got a chance to chat with Guro. Very excited to welcome her, Yael. Just walk us through your thought process in bringing her in and what you hope she brings to Gotham.
Yeah, so you guys already got the treat of meeting such a wonderful person and professional. And I can't claim that my pronunciation is good yet. I'm working on my Norwegian pronunciation. But, when we saw that Guro was going to be out of contract this summer, basically, as soon as we were allowed by the rules, we were in touch with her agent to understand if she'd be open to NWSL. And given her long-standing, history playing in Europe and how long she'd been at Chelsea, and the fact that she has a family as well. There were a lot of considerations in trying to convince her to come to Gotham, but really got to know her and her family very well over the months leading up to us being able to bring her here. And I think what we saw in our scouting and from seeing her from afar was all really validated in getting to know her. She's an incredibly smart player and smart person. She's very astute on and off the field, really cares about her craft. She's a wonderful technician. So just such an exciting player to watch play, and that is all reflected as well in her personality off the field. And so we think she's going to be an amazing fit for us, not just on the field and what we're trying to do, and helping to bring, another exciting element to our roster, but also just in terms of seamlessly fitting right into our locker room and with a level of experience that's always really really additive, especially as we get into the season and we're going through the ups and downs of the season. Bringing a player of her level experience and winning pedigree is very important to us.
All right, so raise your hand function to ask any questions here for Yael. Jeff, go ahead.
Hey, Yael, Jeff Kassouf. Wondering, you just touched on it a little bit at the end there, but the ability to bring her in, a player of her notoriety, of her skill level, in the context of where the league is at, obviously this hip era and everything that kind of has led into it, and this kind of global fight that you've discussed at times for players. Do you feel like there is I don't know, a stake in the ground there? Is that part of this? Do you not think about that when you're signing a player? Or?
No, I think that it all really matters. Players worldwide in the game talk and have friendships, and it's really important to us at Gotham. We have Anne and Jess who played at Chelsea, and we understand that word travels. And when we're recruiting and looking at players, it does matter what club players have played for, what national team they play for. And Guro has I was joking with her when I saw her. I said, I hope you like it so far because you have very important friends. So it does matter. My general feeling is players in this ecosystem and in the fact that all of the top women's leagues are evolving, we're going to see a flow of players in and out of NWSL. Obviously, we want to bring and keep all of the top players in NWSL, but we're going to see movement in all directions. And so for us, as we are scouting and we're recruiting, we do care, where a player's been and where they're coming from in terms of being able to predict where they're going and how they'll impact our roster. So certainly, the places that Guro has been and the players she's played with are advantageous to us as a club, and we don't take that lightly. We know that our reputation matters to us and what players say about us. And when she calls home or when she goes into her national team camp, it's important to us that she's had a really good experience here and that we've helped her achieve her ongoing career goals as well as her helping our team.
And just relatedly, I'd be remiss not to ask if hip is at play here or for you guys at large based on how that works. I realize there's sort of a team threshold too.
Yeah, so obviously, as I'm sure many of you guys are aware, we have a number of players who are eligible for the hip role to be applied, and Guro is one of them. We don't talk about the details of how we apply the salary cap rules, but certainly the addition of that rule has allowed us to consider how we can continue to add talent to our roster, and Guro is part of that conversation, and that will be an ongoing consideration: is how do we retain the talent we have, and how do we continue to add talent? And the hip rule is very important to that.
Any more questions for Yael? Melanie, go ahead. That was quick. Melanie and then Sean. Go ahead, Melanie.
Hi, Yael, Melanie with The Athletic. I'm curious if you anticipate Guro being a part of the team soon. Do you anticipate kind of having a slow rollout, bringing her onto the team, or if there's anything you can share about maybe when fans could expect to see her?
Yeah, we're hoping, we've been waiting a little while. We've had to go through a visa process and then there was the international break. So we're really excited to get Guro out in the field with us as soon as she's able. Obviously, as you guys recognize, we have a lot of games. They come quickly, and we also have a really roster packed with talent. So like every player on our roster, she's going to have to come in and prove herself and fight for her time and fight for her spot. That's what every single player here has to do. And at the same time, we are looking to include her as soon as possible. We do have some injuries, as everyone's aware, and we're excited to include her in the group that can be selected.
Thank you.
Sean, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Yale. Thank you for taking my question. When it comes to a player like Guru coming in, I know that winning 2 league titles is a huge number and a great accomplishment for a team, but she's won 6 league titles with Chelsea, I believe 13 major trophies as a total. How much do you think that affects the team in terms of having someone who's seen that kind of experience, especially when maybe you hit some low points last season, that this is someone who can dig you out of those moments?
I think the intangibles that come with winners and people who have won at high level really can't be overstated. That's, all along through my time here, I have placed a high value on players who know how to win. And that can come in a lot of shapes and forms. It could mean winning in college, it can mean winning in youth national teams, the senior national team level and club, other places. And so the intangibles that come with that, the understanding of staying calm through tough moments, the understanding of when there's opportunity and what that means and how to maximize and optimize that. All of those things are hugely important. And between our staff and our player group, we have a ton of experience winning, and I don't think you can have that enough. And so I absolutely think it's a huge positive. Obviously, we look first at what, players' capabilities on the field, and we're looking at that. But in terms of the off the field presence and even how that translates to maturity on the field in big game moments, that type of experience and the type of winning pedigree, yeah, it's hard to calculate the importance of that, but it's really, really important to us.
Great. Any other further questions for Yael? Okay, we'll go Jeff and then Sean.
Could you just quickly talk about I mean, you mentioned a little bit, but the abbreviated version of the recruiting process. You said you were in touch right away, but I assume that process pre-communication is pretty detailed or a longer one. What does it take then from there to do convincing, or if that was needed, or what did that look like?
Yeah, it's always, by the time you guys see an announcement, a lot of work and a lot of layers have come into play. So I appreciate you asking that question, Jeff. We have an excellent scouting team, and they are scanning the world and watching full games of all the league in the world at all times and tracking player performance in relation to contract end date, in relation to understanding and talking to agents on who's available, who's open, who's definitely re-signing at their club and not worth us considering. So we have a kind of an ongoing process. We're scanning the world in all roles on the field to understand who's available, who's world class, who's up and coming, high potential, and kind of weighing all of that. And then ahead of any window, understanding who's going to be out of contract is really important. Obviously, as the transfer market continues to move in an amazing direction for the game, we only have so much budget to work with when it comes to transfers, and obviously same thing with the salary cap. So we have to be really smart and intentional about understanding when top players are out of contract, and both being needs based in our recruitment, but also being opportunistic. And that's something that we've prided ourselves on is we have processes in place, but we also need to be adaptable. We need to be opportunistic. We need to understand who's available, who we might not have been looking at before, but now, it makes sense because there's an opportunity to get a top player who's out of contract. So for Guru, I think a lot of those things coincided. We were looking for generally left-footed, left-sided, attacking-minded players who are incredibly intelligent, technically sound and have played at the highest level of the game and have winning experience. I mean, it's just inadvertently said her bio without, but that was our world search. And then so Guro, came up, is out of contract in the summer. I do like bringing in players in the middle of the season. Continuity is important, but also a roster is an emotional kind of living, breathing organism, and injecting new players in the middle of something, I think does have a unique power to it. And so in all of that, we had some early conversations. We had some early virtual conversations, a lot of conversation with agent. It usually works where we have a lot of talk with agent and they're kind of understanding opportunities and shielding the player from initial outreach. And then while we were in London, we did have the opportunity to meet with Guro and her agent live, which was a really important moment for us and a time when we could sit down and spend a lot of time. But even after that, multiple conversations, we got to virtually meet her lovely family as well. That's a huge important part, is getting to know her, like I said. So I'd say, yeah, like literally months and layers of conversation and getting to know her and expressing our interest and understanding the likelihood of her coming as we're assessing, what's possible. So a lot of steps ahead of us executing a deal.
Sean, go ahead.
Thanks for taking one more. When it comes to the development of this club and where they were many years ago when you began undertaking this role of building Gotham into what it is now, do you look at it and do you say that Gotham signing a player of Guru's capability, and some might describe her as world class? Would you describe it as a statement for Gotham in signing someone of Guru's capabilities?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, we're in such a privileged position with our roster now, and I don't take that lightly. The reality is we have players from all over the world who want to come play at our club, and our limiting factor now is our salary cap, not our, ability to attract players and recruit. But that's a position that we've come to that is earned through hard work, through doing right by players who have been here, through developing players who have gone on to improve their status with their national teams, and we've getting players onto their national teams, and having players who become rookie of the year, and all of those things are part of what makes players want to play at our club. And it is also a position that, while it's been earned, needs to be continually earned every single day, every week, every year. It is very important to us. Not 100% of players have a perfectly lovely experience at our club. It's tough, it's competitive. But for us, our best ability to recruit comes from what we do every day with the players who are already on our team and what they say about us, how they continue with us, or how they depart. And those things mean a lot to us. And we really, we're not perfect, but we do our absolute best to support our players to have a great experience at our club. And I think those things do come back around, and they compound. And we've known that all along, and we will continue to do our very best to stay on this track. But it's a privileged position we're in to be able to recruit a player like Guro. And once a player like her, and we have many others on our roster, decide to come to us, that's when the work really starts. We need to prove to them they made the right decision, and don't take that lightly at all, that it's a big job ahead.